Yesterday, Joy Reid went on a bit of a scree about why MAGA is so angry. They have the House, they have the Senate, they have the White House, they have SCOTUS, and yet, you go on X, you go on TikTok, you go on Reddit, and to spaces where people on the right tend to express their opinions, and they're all still very, very angry. And she says that it's because that we on the left are not welcoming them to the table. We're not saying, good for you guys, you won and you're doing a great job. I disagree. Us not showing love to the right is not the reason that the right is still so angry. The right is still so angry because their lives have not gotten any better, even though they control the House and the Senate and the White House and the Supreme Court. Their lives still suck just as bad as they did a year ago. In fact, given the tariff situation, given the way that, ICE is acting lately, given the way that, the politicians on the right are acting lately, life's gotten markedly worse. It's harder to find, workers. It's harder to sell your product. Prices are going up across the board. And we on the left recognize that, had our woman been voted into office, the tariffs wouldn't exist. So those prices wouldn't have gone up. ICE would not be detaining anybody who's tan and speaks Spanish. So, those people would still be here. We wouldn't be spending money to ship people to El Salvador or Libya or wherever the hell we're sending people to now. So that money would still be in our pockets. I dare say Charlie might even still be alive had, Kamala been elected, because we wouldn't have Kash Patel running the FBI and focusing on those tan people who speak Spanish rather than, terrorist situations within the country. Those children who were sitting in church praying the other week, that person who did that posted online that they were going to do that, and the FBI didn't even pay attention to it. I dare say those children would still be alive because somebody at the FBI would have been tasked with monitoring traffic online for those kinds of threats. But to recognize the reason that we're having the issues that we have, the reason that there are the problems have gotten worse in the last 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, however long it's been, the reason that things are going downhill so fast is because of the decisions that they made when they walked into the ballot box last November. Would they still have problems? Of course. Everybody has problems. Would they be as bad? No. Definitely no. And don't get me wrong, they'd still find something to blame, something to find a problem with, but prices wouldn't be going up because of tariffs. Labor would be better or easier to find because we'd have more people in this country. The vacation situation, the tourism situation we're having here in Florida would be so much better because people wouldn't be avoiding the country because of what ICE is doing. And again, those children in the church and even Charlie might still be alive had Kamala been in office. Because both of the people who did those things were regular posters online, and there's a chance, maybe a big one, maybe a small one, but at least a chance that somebody would have been paying attention to those spaces and not to if there's a tan person speaking Spanish outside their office. But MAGA is still angry because they only have themselves to blame. And recognizing that you only have yourself to blame is very, very difficult. Like on a regular basis in this house, when I've done something that I thought was a good idea at the time, but turned out to not be a good idea or to be the wrong way to do something, I get mad. And initially I want to attack the person who pointed out the fact that I was wrong. But then I take a breath and I recognize the fact that, you know what? You're right. I did that wrong. I made a mistake. Let's do what we can to fix it. And it took a lot of therapy for me to get to that point. And I'm not always perfect and I still screw it up every once in a while, but I try. And MAGA right now, the right, they're not trying. They're not even close to trying. They're still lashing out at everybody who points out the fact that a mistake was made and they're to blame. They refuse to take that breath and say, well, that was a fuck up. Let's try something else. So MAGA, if you're suffering right now because your soybean orders haven't been made or have been canceled, if you're frustrated because the inputs for your knives, the cost has gone up and you're no longer able to produce those knives for a reasonable price, if you're angry because you rely on tourism and there's a 30% loss in tourism this year, because of the immigration situation in this country. If you're angry because of something caused by this administration, you only have yourself to blame. And yeah, it sucks to accept that fact, but if you don't, nothing will change. If, however, you recognize that there is a problem and that you are part of the problem or were part of the problem, but you're willing to change, it can get better. We can fix this if we work together. First thing you're going to need to do, though, is call your Congress critter, House representative, senators in your state, and say, hey, we done fucked up. Let's fix this. And the first thing we need to fix this is for Congress to get off their ass and actually do something to help the American people. The actual people. Not the people who, give money to their campaigns. Not the companies that don't have their headquarters in their constituencies. Not the oligarchy, not the Musks and the Bill Gates and the George Soroses of the country. Not the Peter Thiels. They are not America. In fact, most of them are quite anti-American if you look at their actual, ideas and compare it to the history of this country. They are not American. We are America. We are the ones who have to live in this country and make life better for everybody. Call them up. Give them some ideas. Throw something at the wind. See if they've got an idea themselves of how to cut your taxes, how to decrease your costs, how to bring people back to this country to help with working. Maybe we can restart the Bracero program or something better than that was. Because that had problems. We know what those problems are. Maybe we can fix them this time. But sitting there and screaming and complaining about something that you did, that now you can control a potential fix for, does not correct the issue. It doesn't help the situation. So make the phone call. Give them an option and tell them to push back against the decisions that this administration is making, because they are harming Americans and they are harming America. We are less secure, we are less safe because of this administration currently, and we can change it if we push back. And we need your help to do that. So this is me reaching across the aisle and saying, hey, we're all in this together. Let's try to find some way to correct the problems and move forward. Thanks.